on how it's made. Coffee and nachos. To begin, the worker takes out the used coffee pot. The worker then brings the coffee cup over to a faucet or other water source and rinses it out to get all of the remnants of the bad coffee out. The worker then places the coffee pot back into the coffee. The worker walks into his or her pantry and pulls out Folger's coffee. The worker then grabs a spoon and opens up the Folger's coffee. The worker then goes and grabs a filter because that will filter out the coffee, the good stuff. The worker then very carefully opens up the coffee machine and takes out the old, used filter. After disposing of the toxic waste that was in the old filter container, he puts the new one in. Opens back up his Folgers and grabs his spoon. The worker then takes his spoon, puts it into the coffee, and takes out the desired amount. Usually about 1 tablespoon. Sometimes 1.5. The worker then closes the coffee pot, pushes it back up against the wall, and very carefully gets out the cup that he or her might want. The worker then fills up that cup that he got out, fills it with water, just as much as he wants. The worker then takes the cup filled with water, pulls the coffee machine back out, opens it up, and pours the water into the coffee machine. The worker then, as the last step, hits the on button. And bam, you've got coffee. To begin making nachos, the worker must, of course, get out his Tostitos restaurant-style chips. The worker then walks over to his or her refrigerator and takes out their desired cheese. For example, is mozzarella and cheddar. The worker then takes his or her cheeses, and if it is unopened, opens it and pours some chips onto a plate. Or the counter for this. The worker cleans up the spill because, as you can see, these are very sharp shards, and they can easily cut a human skin. And he can very carefully picks them up and puts them back on the plate. The worker then takes his or her cheeses and puts them onto the chips. The worker then takes his nachos, stack them door, and places the nachos inside. The worker then presses his or her desired amount of time, and the nachos begin cooking. Once the nachos are done, the worker opens up the microwave and takes them out. Very careful, as the cheese, as you can see, is very, very hot. He then sets them down, and he has his testers come in and make sure that these are good enough. Oh, good! And now you have yourself some perfect nachos.